In the mid-11th century, England stood as a wealthy and contested kingdom. When King Edward the Confessor died in January 1066, without a direct heir, multiple claimants emerged, and the throne of England became a prize worth fighting for. Edward's brother-in-law Harold Godwinson was crowned king. But across the Channel, William, Duke of Normandy, claimed that Edward had promised him the crown years earlier. Seeing Harold's coronation as a betrayal, William prepared for invasion. Backed by the Pope and with a well-organized invasion force, William crossed the English Channel with a clear goal: to claim the English throne by force. In October 1066, William landed on English soil. The two forces met at the Battle of Hastings. After hours of fierce fighting, the Norman cavalry broke through the Anglo-Saxon shield wall. Harold was killed in the fighting, and with him Anglo-Saxon rule came to an end. William was crowned King of England on Christmas Day, but his conquest was far from over. Rebellions flared across the country, especially in the north. William responded with brutal efficiency, laying waste to entire regions during campaigns like the Harrying of the North. In 1087, during a campaign in Normandy, William suffered fatal injuries after falling from his horse. He died shortly after and was buried in Caen. In dividing his lands, he gave Normandy to Robert, England to William, and money to Henry, setting the stage for future rivalry among the brothers. William Rufus proved to be a forceful and often controversial ruler. He clashed with the church, especially with Archbishop Anselm, and heavily taxed the nobility. Though capable in battle, he lacked his father's discipline and faced frequent accusations of corruption and excess. On August 2nd, 1100, William went hunting in the New Forest, and during the hunt, an arrow struck William in the chest. He died almost instantly. Meanwhile, his younger brother Henry moved quickly to secure the crown. Henry was born in 1068, the youngest son of William the Conqueror and Queen Matilda of Flanders. Unlike his elder brothers Robert and William Rufus, Henry was born after the Norman conquest, making him the only one of William's sons born into royalty on both sides of the Channel. While his brothers were trained as warriors and rulers, Henry was sent to be educated by the church. He studied Latin, law, history, and theology, a rare education for a prince of his time. This earned him the nickname Henry Beauclerc, or Henry the Scholar. It was a name that would stay with him for life. When their father died in 1087, the realm was divided. Robert received Normandy, William Rufus became King of England. Henry, though a legitimate son, received only a sum of money, no land, no title. With his inheritance, Henry began carving out a small base of power. He bought a county in western Normandy and began building alliances with local barons. But both of his brothers saw him as a threat. By 1088, Henry was arrested by Robert and imprisoned for nearly a year. After his release, Henry remained politically active, though always careful. He traveled between England and Normandy, watching as Robert joined the First Crusade in 1096, leaving his duchy under weak administration. By the late 1190, Henry was no longer just the youngest brother. He had become a politically astute and seasoned man, educated, experienced, and quietly ambitious. Still landless, still waiting. Then came the moment that changed everything. In August 1100, William Rufus died suddenly in a hunting accident. Robert was still away on crusade, and Henry was in the right place at the right time. Henry moved quickly. Within days, he was crowned King of England at Westminster Abbey, just 3 days after his brother's death. But he understood that a crown alone wasn't enough. To gain the support of the nobles and clergy, Henry issued a document known as the Charter of Liberties. This charter promised to reverse many of the harsh policies of William Rufus, pledging to lower royal taxes, end abuses of feudal rights, and respect the church's authority. In effect, Henry positioned himself as a reformer, offering good governance in exchange for loyalty. To strengthen his claim further, Henry married Edith of Scotland, later known as Matilda, the daughter of King Malcolm III and St. Margaret of Scotland. Through her, Henry linked his dynasty to the old Anglo-Saxon royal line, appealing to both Normans and English alike. But Henry's position remained insecure. In 1101, Robert Curthose returned from the First Crusade. His reputation was high, a crusading hero, and by some accounts the rightful king of England. Encouraged by discontented nobles, Robert launched an invasion. Instead of meeting in battle, the brothers negotiated. The Treaty of Alton was signed. Robert agreed to renounce his claim to the English throne in return for a pension. Henry, in turn, agreed to restore Robert's supporters and maintain peace. Henry used the following years to consolidate his authority. He strengthened royal justice, reformed financial administration, and placed loyal men in key positions. His government became more centralized and effective than either of his predecessors. It was during this time that the foundations of the English exchequer system began to take shape. Meanwhile, Robert's rule in Normandy began to unravel. His lax governance and increasing disorder gave Henry a reason and an opportunity to act. In 1105, he crossed the Channel, launching a campaign to challenge his brother directly. The decisive moment came on September 28, 1106, at the Battle of Tinchebray. Henry's forces defeated Robert's army. Robert himself was captured and taken prisoner. He would spend the rest of his life in captivity over 25 years, in various English castles. With Robert defeated, Henry held both the English crown and the Duchy of Normandy, the same lands once ruled by his father. By the second decade of the 12th century, Henry I was firmly in control. He had brought stability to the realm after decades of division. But one problem remained, the question of succession. Henry's marriage to Matilda of Scotland had produced several children, but only one legitimate son survived, William Adelin. As the king's only male heir, William was raised to rule. He was given titles, lands, and responsibilities, even made Duke of Normandy during his father's lifetime. By 1120, William Adelin was 17, ambitious, confident, and well-liked by the Norman nobility. He had recently paid homage to King Louis VI of France, further securing his position as heir to both England and Normandy. In November 1120, the royal family prepared to return to England from Normandy. A newly refitted vessel, the White Ship, was offered to carry Prince William and many of the realm's young nobles. Shortly after leaving port, the White Ship struck a submerged rock just off the Normandy coast. The vessel was torn apart in the freezing waters. Nearly everyone on board drowned, including William Adelin. Only one man survived to tell the tale, a butcher from Rouen. When the news reached King Henry, he was devastated. Chroniclers say he never smiled again. With William gone, Henry's succession plans collapsed. Though he remarried in hopes of producing another male heir, no child came. His only surviving legitimate child was his daughter Matilda. Despite the death of his only son, Henry remained determined to secure his dynasty. His daughter Matilda, widow of the Holy Roman Emperor, had returned to England. In 1128, Henry arranged her marriage to Geoffrey Plantagenet, Count of Anjou, hoping the union would strengthen her position as heir. Henry forced his nobles to swear an oath of loyalty to Matilda as his heir. But the idea of a female ruler was controversial. Many barons agreed only reluctantly, and some later denied the oath altogether. In late 1135, Henry traveled to Normandy to resolve tensions between his daughter and son-in-law. While there, he reportedly ate a meal of lampreys, a dish he loved, but which his doctors had warned him against. Shortly afterward, he fell seriously ill. Despite efforts to recover, Henry I died on December 1, 1135. He was 67 years old. His body was brought back to England and buried at Reading Abbey, a monastery he had founded. With Henry's death, the throne was technically Matilda's. But before she could act, her cousin Stephen of Blois moved quickly. He crossed the Channel, gained the support of several influential barons and the church. Within weeks, Stephen was crowned King of England. Though he had also sworn to uphold Matilda's claim, political ambition and convenience won the day. Many nobles followed suit, abandoning their oaths in favor of a male ruler. Matilda, however, did not remain silent. Backed by loyal nobles and her half-brother Robert of Gloucester, she prepared to challenge Stephen's claim. What followed was not a brief rebellion, but a long and bitter struggle for the soul of England. For nearly 2 decades, England would be torn by civil war, a brutal and lawless period remembered simply as the Anarchy.